Hello, my name is Vern Hoole, and I will be following through on an article from the CTV News. Charges put focus on Jehovah's Witnesses handling of abuse. And this has been in the news. I'll leave a link in the description below so you can go to this article yourself. There's actually a three-part video on, four-part video on Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's on the no witness rule. And this video was put out back in 2018. This video came out. So you'll have a link, you'll get to watch all of those. As well, the related stories right now with Jehovah's Witnesses are right here. Sex abuse survivors allege cover-up by Jehovah's Witnesses for failing to report assaults. Jehovah's Witnesses flee Russia, Ukraine for worship without fear. Jehovah's Witnesses report convictions, torture in Russia. Jehovah's Witnesses shocked by Hamburg attack, thank police. And 9 things you likely didn't know about Jehovah's Witnesses. And then the Quebec class action alleging sexual abuse in Jehovah's Witnesses can proceed. So these are some of the news articles here out of CTV News in Canada, and they are really following up on Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, for a lot of us out there, we thought, and the Jehovah's Witness governing body thought that it was us apostates that were doing all this work. No. This is the governments. These are the news agencies of the world that are looking at Jehovah's Witnesses with a microscope. And now we are seeing it all unveil. So for a lot of us, we've been following the Pennsylvania case. And so they did a kind of a recap here. And I'll just follow through with the recap and you can see what they have to say. Excuse me. York Haven, Pennsylvania. A Pennsylvania grand juror in recent months accused 9 men with connections to the Jehovah's Witnesses of child sexual abuse in what some considered the nation's most comprehensive investigation yet into abuse within the faith. The sets of charges filed in October and February have fueled speculation the jury may make public more about what it has uncovered from a 4-year investigation. A similar grand jury investigation into child sexual abuse by the Catholic priests culminated in a lengthy 2018 report that concluded hundreds of priests had abused children in Pennsylvania over 7 decades, and church officials had covered it up. And more recently, a similar report was issued in Maryland. W5 investigation, sex abuse survivors allege cover-up by Jehovah's Witnesses for failing to report assaults. But documents made public so far include nothing about what critics have long maintained has been a systematic cover-up and mishandling of child molestation within the Jehovah's Witnesses. Pennsylvania Attorney General Michael Henry, at a news conference in February announcing charges, said some of the defendants even used their faith's communities to prey upon the victims. Asked whether her office was looking into the Jehovah's Witness as an organization, Henry replied it was ongoing investigation. Critics say church elders have treated child sexual abuse as a sin rather than a crime, carefully documenting cases in the internal files but not reporting allegations to authorities, and sometimes letting the accused remain active in their congregations with access to children from suspecting families. Critics also say the church has often required a second witness for complaints, a standard that can be impossible to meet in cases of molestation. Now, just to pause there, we covered in our videos where there's in Deuteronomy, where there requires no witnesses in cases of attacks, sexual attacks on women. And men are to be held accountable in the book of Deuteronomy, which Jehovah's Witnesses believe in the whole Bible. In fact, they used the book of Deuteronomy to support their position on blood. So why not use Deuteronomy to support that you do not need two witnesses. One witness from a woman is all you need according to Deuteronomy. And we've covered that off. So this is just convenient for the Jehovah's Witnesses, for their elders. Now, critics also say the church has often required a second witness for complaints. Now, church spokesman Jared Lope said otherwise, that the church does not recognize abuse as a crime and that members have the right to report sexual assault to authorities. He said the second witness rule applies only to the internal church discipline and that elders comply with reporting laws even when there is not a second witness. Dozens of people have testified before the secret grand jury in Harrisburg or provided information to the Attorney General's office, and some report that investigators have exhibited keen interest in how the church has responded to molestation allegations. They were very interested in not only individual cases, but in systematic concerns regarding the reporting of child abuse, said Mark O'Donnell of Parksville, Maryland, a former Jehovah's Witness. Martin Haw of York Haven, Pennsylvania, a former elder who left the church in 2016, said he has spoken for hours to investigators both inside and outside of the grand jury proceedings about the structure of the denomination and how it handles cases of child abuse. So there he is. Now this picture is quite new. This is Martin Haw, a former Jehovah's Witness elder and father of sexual abuse victim, holds an old photo of his son and daughter while at his home in York Haven, Pennsylvania on Wednesday, April 12th, 2023. So April 12th, that's only 5 days ago. In 2005, his daughter, now 21 years old, was molested at his congregation by a perpetrator who had a history of abuse and that the elders were aware of but did not warn families about. And when Haw became an elder, he said he learned of 4 other cases in his congregation. Haw said, to his knowledge, this is the first time an investigation of Jehovah's Witnesses has been done on this scale in any U.S. state. Haw said he's been in regular contact with investigators from Henry's office, most recently in March. Attorney Matt Haverstick confirmed recently that his law firm is representing Jehovah's Witness congregations around Pennsylvania on unspecified matters that are very active right now. I would say if the only place you're looking for records of child sexual abuse is with one organization, then of course all prosecutions that come are going to be about that one organization, Haverstick said. There's nothing unique or particular about this faith that makes it prone to any kind of misconduct, he said. The international Christian denomination, founded in Pittsburgh area more than a century ago and headquartered in New York State, claims 8.7 million members worldwide, including 1.2 million in the United States. And this is the Jehovah's Witnesses it's speaking about. Members will not bear arms, salute a national flag, or participate in secular politics. Believers are known for their evangelical efforts, including knocking on doors and distributing literature in public places. In the Pennsylvania cases, court records state all 9 defendants have ties to the Jehovah's Witness faith, although in some cases it's unclear how that might relate to the criminal allegations. Defense lawyer Dan Kiss Altoona, Pennsylvania, said his client, Robert Ostrander, 57, of Windsor, New York, knew nothing about the investigation before he was charged in October with indecent assault, corruption of minors, and other offenses. Kiss said Ostrander denies all allegations. Honestly, this appears to be some sort of attack on their religion, Kiss said. You have all these Jehovah's Witnesses getting charged with some sort of inappropriate behavior, and I'm hoping that this is not the Attorney General's office piling up on their religious beliefs. See, that's what Jehovah's Witnesses want to blame it on. That's what Rutherford did in Rutherford, the founder, one of the founders. He blamed it all on the Catholic religion as to why he got put into jail. But it was Second World War, and they were telling everyone that the governments were wild beasts. So You know, what do you expect? Now, they're doing the same thing today. So in response, Brett Hambright, a spokesman for the State Attorney General Office, said the charging documents articulate incidents where defendants use their positions of authority within Jehovah's Witness congregations to build trust with children who they later abused. And that's what's happened. So current Pennsylvania law mandates that clergy and other spiritual leaders report suspicions of child abuse that arise in the course of their work. But the law also provides for exceptions when spiritual leaders learn about the abuse through confidential communications, such as confessions to a Catholic priest. Under the structure of the Jehovah's Witness faith, all baptized members are considered ordained ministers. Groups of half dozen or more elders make many decisions, and elders field confessions of sin at local congregation level. More recently, after an Amish bishop in Lancaster County was charged with misdemeanor counts of failing to properly report suspected abuse, allegations for which he subsequently entered a program for first-time nonviolent offenders, the Jehovah's Witness congregation in Philadelphia hired Haverk's law firm to seek clarity about its elders' legal obligations. So, isn't that interesting? They're trying to be like the Amish. They're trying to compare a Jehovah's Witness elder to an Amish elder. Okay, let's see what else it says. The 140-member Ivy Hill congregation sued Pennsylvania's Department of Human Services, asking Commonwealth Court to clarify whether elders are mandated reporters if they learn of child abuse through a confidential confession. Human Services runs the state's childline abuse hotline. So they sued, the Jehovah's Witnesses sued the Pennsylvania's Department of Human Services. They sued them, asking them to clarify. They wanted to make elders like clergy, like a Catholic priest. So for 150 years, Jehovah's Witnesses want nothing to do with the Catholic religion. They do not want to be compared to a Catholic priest and confession or any of the other religions. In fact, in all of the phone books, you will never see a Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall with, all the other religions. They're always separate. And because they want nothing to do with it. But now, when it comes to clergy protection, they want all the rights. Isn't that hypocritical? Well, let's see what else it has to say. The prospect that the Pennsylvania's grand jury investigation may have uncovered secret church documents about how child sexual abuse matters have been handled has arisen some lawyers for those harmed years ago that are hoping they may soon be able to file new cases. That depends on whether the state lawmakers establish a special 2-year period to allow otherwise outdated child sexual abuse lawsuits. So it seems like there's different laws. I know in Canada, I don't think there's a time period on this. In Canada, I know on business situations, there's a 2-year time period to deal with business. But when it comes to sexual abuse, I don't think there's a time period. But maybe in some states there is. So it says here that the church has faced multiple lawsuits. So the church being Jehovah's Witnesses, so we want to be clear here, have faced multiple lawsuits around the country in the past 2 decades alleging cover-ups of abuse. And when we look at the Australian Commission, there's a perfect example. There was like 1,000 cases uncovered that were covered up. And that's a small country in comparison to the rest of the big world. So if we use that as a statistic, there's a lot all over the world covered up right now today, and it's just starting to uncover. So it says here, there's no doubt in my mind that the grand jury is fully needed, said Marcy Hamilton, chief executive of the Philadelphia-based advocacy group of Child USA. Smith reported from Pittsburgh. Associated Press research Jennifer Farah in New York, and video journalist Jesse Wardzik contributed. So a lot of work's going into this Jehovah's Witnesses uncovering. And here's a picture here of the subpoena. Martin Haw, a former Jehovah's Witness elder and father of sexual abuse victims, holds a subpoena dated in 2019 ordering him to testify in front of the Pennsylvania grand jury, shown on Wednesday, April 12th, 2023. And that's just a few days ago in York Haven, Pennsylvania. The 4-year grand jury investigation overseen by the Attorney General's office has produced charges of child sexual abuse against 9 men, all affiliated with the faith, Jehovah's Witnesses, the Jehovah's Witness faith. Okay, so that's it, and that covers off on this article for today. So folks, we will keep you updated as further information comes, but we know with the court systems, it's quite slow, and it has to be, so they can be very thorough and make sure they gather in all of the information. So this is what's happening on the Pennsylvania court, and now we still have the class action happening here in Canada and Quebec. So that's on the height of news. We have things happening in Russia. We have the Hamburg shooting, where all of the mass shooting in Hamburg, Germany, and now all the Jehovah's Witnesses have quit going to meetings in Germany, and they're doing Zoom right now. So these are some of the things that are happening. Then in Italy, the bombing there, and Jehovah's Witnesses are suing a small minority group that are speaking out. So thanks again, folks. And remember, until next time, keep living your life with love. Thanks again.